So it was another time of the year where a big event was happening on Sodor. The circus was returning to the island. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the last time that happened was during Season 4's Henry and the Elephant episode. Wow, they don't show up very often, do they?
Children gathered on the bridges. They were waiting to see the circus pass by. Thomas became more and more excited. Everyone wanted to collect the circus from Brendam Docks.
I'm sure, being that whoever would collect that would be the center of attention. James was looking forward to the clowns, and Percy enjoyed the horses. However, when Top Hat came by, he asked Thomas to collect the circus. I'm sure someone's going to be grumpy now.
If there are too many trucks for you to pull, you must share the work with another engine.
Percy and James were pleased. Maybe they'd get to pull the circus after all. Thomas puffed over to Brendam Docks.
Oh, well, I stand corrected. I guess no one was upset because there was still hope that they could help out. Thomas was amazed to see the circus arrive at Brendam Docks, though. He had never seen so many different colors and objects being unloaded. Finally, though, it was time for Thomas to leave. He had seen everything.
Thomas buffered up to collect the coach.
Do you want a wheel there, matey?
Asked Salty cheerfully. Thomas remembered what the Fat Controller had said about sharing the work. But the band started playing and everybody was cheering.
Of course, with the band distracting him, Thomas began to get a big funnel and didn't want anyone else to steal his thunder. So instead, he said no thank you to Salty and moved along. Although it wasn't easy for him being that it was so heavy. Soon after, the strain wasn't even on his mind, though.
Thomas puffed towards Maron Station. He had a wonderful surprise. Passengers and staff waved and cheered as he passed by. The band played on, and Thomas blew his whistle in time with the trumpet.
That must be fun. I can't even remember when Thomas pulled a train so long before. The most recent I can recall was Thomas and the Trucks of Season 1. But Salty wasn't the only engine who asked if Thomas wanted any help. No, the next character he ran into was his best friend Percy.
Is there anything I can take?
Percy asked hopefully. But Thomas wanted to keep all the fun to himself. No, thank you, he gasped. I can do it all on my own. Percy watched Thomas and the circus slowly chuff away. He felt very disappointed.
I bet. Finally, our first frowny face of the day. Come on, Thomas. I know it's fun and all being the center of attention, but still. If anything, I'm glad Thomas is being polite about his responses and not getting annoyed. That would have made him seriously unlikable. Thomas also gave the same reason to James, who asked him later on. Soon, though, friends requesting to help him would become the least of his problems.
Thomas steamed on, but every huff and every chuff got harder and harder. Thomas passed through the next station, but he was almost out of puff. Thomas wasn't having fun anymore.
Suits him right, since he wasn't willing to share the workload. But even that wasn't the worst part. What happened next was Thomas blowing off his traction rod since he was straining so hard. But now that Thomas realized his fault in the decisions he's made, he was feeling sorry for himself.
Even the performers practicing in the field didn't make Thomas feel better. Thomas wished he had shared the heavy load. Soon, Percy and James arrived. James brought new traction rods.
Well, well. Nice to see the two Thomas had denied before came back to help. Then again, these two are probably smiling because they also know they're going to get a chance to take part in the train. I mean, rightfully so. Thomas apologized, and soon enough the three engines were all coupled together and took off to their destination.
Thank you for helping me, puffed Thomas. Sharing your work makes things much easier, but sharing the fun is the best fun of all. And everyone agreed.
Facts. When it comes to a job, it's better to work smarter, not harder. Which I think is the lesson Thomas learned here. If people are willing to help you out, let them help you out. Why bother carrying the whole workload? Who does that? Thomas wasn't totally in the wrong, though. It was great that Thomas politely told everyone who asked him that he was okay and didn't need help. Sure, I mean, he was in denial, but at least he didn't tell off anyone who asked him. That would have been just disgraceful. It was a fairly decent episode. There were a number of nice visuals, too. For one, I've been enjoying how the camera has had more dynamic ways of giving us different views of Sodor. Whether it be giving the viewers a backed-up perspective to see more of what surrounds various landmarks, or riding on the back of Thomas's cab, it just feels so much more inclusive. Also, did anyone notice Caroline was in the parking lot of Marin Station? Man, nice to know George's request to find a scrapyard wasn't taken up on. Interesting that they also used a faceless toad for this particular train. Then there's also the figurine movements, again with the clowns throwing a pie in the face. That was cute. Brendam Docks, Kirk Ronan Junction, and the school were also featured here too. Music was also fun, featuring several different cues like Thomas's, Percy's, and the Circus theme. All were used appropriately and were fun to listen to. Next episode is Thomas Gets It Right. Thanks for watching.